I want to come in here and tell you a little story. Is it true? Is it not true? You have to decide for yourself. But everyone in the world has a story, and that's why your old mother told you to be kind to everyone you meet, because there's more to them than you will ever know. Ever know. Everybody's complicated. Even a mandolin has its story, if it only could tell it. This mandolin was made by a craftsman at the Manhattan Mandolin Works, an old man named Emiliano. His papa had played mandolin back in Milano, and when he put the strings on and he strummed it, he remembered a little phrase of a song that his papa used to play for him when he was a boy. This mandolin was the last handmade mandolin that came from that factory. That very same week, they brought in the assembly line that cut the wood and steamed it and bent it, glued it together, put in the pegs, strung it, tuned it, and shrink wrapped it. And so this beautiful handmade instrument got shrink wrapped too, and it was shipped off on a truck to the wholesale house. Eventually wound up in a music store in a little town in Ohio, where a woman bought it for her son for his 13th birthday.
Yes, how much is it?
$57.
Is that a lot to pay for a mandolin?
No, that's a good price.
Oh.
You won't find cheaper.
Okay, I'll get it.
So she took it home and her son unwrapped it.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, what is it?
It's a mandolin, so happy birthday.
Oh, mandolin.
Yeah, uh-huh.
What can you play on it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Oh, but,
His other birthday present was a hamster in a little Ferris wheel. And that was more interesting to him. And the mandolin was put away in the closet where it remained for 15 years. Because the boy became a documentary filmmaker. And documentary filmmakers tend to stay at home with their parents longer than other people. And the mandolin went off eventually to the Salvation Army, where it sat on the shelf next to a set of bagpipes.
And who are you?
A mandolin, a mandolin, a mandolin.
I never heard of you.
What are you, some kind of sheep?
I refuse to dignify with that with any response.
The mandolin was bought by a gospel singer named Eve, who was in a duo with her boyfriend Bud, and they performed at evangelical churches.
I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away.
And she did fly away, leaving Bud behind.
I'm moving to Tuscany, Bud, with Giuseppe. He's a waiter I met at Isabella's, and just the way he said, "Can I grind some pepper on your fettuccine?" It made my heart skip a few beats. Goodbye.
Well, what about me? I'll never get over you. I may lose my faith or something.
Here, why don't you keep the mandolin? It'll remind you of me.
Bud was brokenhearted. He went to a bar in a bad part of town, and he was mugged by a man named Rico Ricardo.
Hand over the mandolin or else.
But please, this is all I have of hers.
Well, now you got something on mine.
He took the instrument back to his girlfriend.
oh, what you doing stealing that crummy mandolin for, Rico? It's nothing but garbage.
Hey, my mama used to play the mandolin. You saying my mama was garbage? Is that what you're saying?
No,
huh?
I am not saying that.
He was going to take lessons, Rico, but he lost the mandolin in a pinochle game with a man named Lefty.
Hey, that's a nice looking instrument, Rico. Hand it over and we'll call it even Steven.
Lefty, as his name suggests, only had one arm, and so he could not play the mandolin. But he had a niece named Bernetta, whose son Louis was a musician.
Yeah, that's from Uncle Lefty and me.
Oh.
I hope you're treated good.
Geez, thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Mandolin, cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
He played the mandolin in a band called the Vultures of Rhythm.
Okay, boys.
He was on his way to becoming the greatest rock and roll mandolinist in Syracuse, New York, when he left the mandolin backstage one night when he was in a drug-induced haze.
Man, my clothes feel too tight. I gotta get out of here. The walls are crawling. Did you see that? The walls are crawling, man.
The mandolin was found backstage and rescued by an usher who took it home with her.
Wow, man, he sure beat the living crap out of it. Back's all scratched. Looked like a dog chewed on the neck. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, still sounds good. I'm gonna give it to Dietrich.
Dietrich was a violin maker. He'd never worked on mandolins, but he recognized the fine handiwork of Emiliano from many years before. He went to work and he replaced a couple of pegs, and he fixed the crack, and refinished it. And then one day, he had a bright idea.
I know who should have this. The maestro, Christoph Thile.
His friend Christoph Thile was in prison for aggravated assault. He was a violinist, and he'd been performing a Bach sonata, and he became incensed at the pianist, who had a tendency to speed up. And he found it unbearable, and he pulled out a pistol. He destroyed the piano, and a piano wire snapped and cut off the tip of the pianist's nose. And Christoph Thile was charged and convicted and sent to prison. And there he sat in grief, in solitary confinement, having sold his violin to pay the lawyers. Until one day,
Maestro, this is for you. It's a fine old mandolin. It only needs someone who will honor it.
before he'd gone to prison, Mr. Thile would not have looked twice at a mandolin. But now he took it in his hands, and it felt like a life raft, an instrument of redemption. And he tuned it up, and he spent hours a day with it. And before long, he discovered that the mandolin was friendly to the music of Bach. And he could feel a door open. He could feel a fresh breeze, a sense of hope. And the governor, on an inspection trip to the prison, heard him playing and pardoned him on the spot.
Well, this man shouldn't sit here and rot in prison. He should be on the radio.
And so he is. He changed his name from Thile to Thile, and he's gone straight ever since. Remarkably straight. Mostly straight.